Well, we can go ahead and get started. I will post the tweets now.
You got to explain to me what's going on here on this rainbow trends chart too. Kick
We'll
off.
do. We can start. Well, we got to figure out what we even want to talk about. I thought we were just going to talk about golden retrievers.
Well, we could do that. I just got back from my daily run with my golden retriever Jake. Usually like to take him for a little run on the bike. Trained him to run alongside me and just a little jog. Nothing too crazy, nothing crazy on the joints, but gotta get that exercise in them, because they just lay around all day and um, even if you got a big yard, maybe play some fetch, but no, you gotta exercise your dogs.
For
That's
sure.
uh, that's number one.
I'm at the point now with my 12-year-old dog. He's too old to run, and then the puppy who's about a year old. She's too wild to pull me on the skateboard without causing a wreck. But normally that's what
Oh, yeah.
we used to do is do laps around the neighborhood and drag me on the longboard.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. So
anyway,
I started. I
no,
I
go ahead. Go
take
ahead.
this. You know what a slip lead is?
Slip lead, no.
It's like basically like kind of like a rope style leash for a dog. And you basically like you just put it around the neck, you just like tighten up the lead, the slip lead. But what you can do is they call it like a gentle leader, where like you kind of make a figure eight and you put a loop around the nose, and it gets them. It takes a little while for them to get used to it, but um, it's basically like they can't pull. They can't pull you because you control their whole head. Because if you have the control of their snout, right, and you can kind of look it up and get a feeling for what I'm talking about. It kind of looks like a muzzle, but for educated dog people, it's not a muzzle. It's just a slip or a gentle leader. But anyone who has dog pulling problems, check that out, and should be helpful for you.
That's I've never seen that. I'm looking it up right now.
Gentle leader around the nose.
So we always use like a 30
There
foot
you go.
retractable one. That way, if I get into a bad patch, I can let them pay out a little bit and still get a correction, not get the skateboard.
That's
There's
super
only
helpful.
there's
I
only
have a little.
or go ahead.
I have like a little dog as well. Yeah, that there, that's it right there. But I have a little dog that she like was pulling a lot and tough to get trained on the bike. She's just afraid of the bike. So if you can control her nose, you can pretty much control everything. So
That's cool, and that beats a choke collar. I
yeah,
hate. I've had to use them, but I don't like it. But
yeah.
that's cool. So anyway, I we kind of skipped intros here, and we just kind of started talking pups. But anyway, guys, welcome to the stream. Rainbow Runner here, as well as a long-awaited guest. We've been trying to do this stream for God, probably over 3 months now, but glad it finally
Decades,
happened. Finally got a
decades.
discount on, and hopefully we don't scare him off. But the market is scary. No one wants to trade, but this dude's hitting it daily in the trade room. So props to him because there are some people fighting this and actually not losing at all, which is kind of interesting because we've seen God knows how many meltdowns, whether that's bank, personal traders, big CT accounts, FTX, you name it. Even then, Sam's in court today with all his former, man, his like number two, number three people just completely ratting him out with full immunity. It's insane.
Wild, really is wild. When is that like? So how long does that go? By the way,
I
like,
don't know.
is it just kind of up in the air, or do they have like a deadline? I don't even know how those things go.
I know this week they have a schedule and they like people know what's coming up in like the next day and they talk about which people are going to be interviewed, etc. Um, and some of the documentation lists Trabucco, so people are kind of like, "Yo, is Trabucco actually going to show up?" Because no one's seen him ever since. I suspect he's in Singapore, but I don't think that unless he had like full immunity would he step foot in the United States. But I don't know. But it's not going well. But um, they were talking about this week. They didn't even give him an option to do a plea deal. So like they're gonna try to bury him under the jail. Whether or not they
Wild.
do, I don't know. But like everybody's singing.
Well, it is. I mean, it's interesting because I had a tweet. I think it was actually probably my one of my most viral tweets. It still gets likes today. And I was like kind of half joking, actually not, but I was like if SBF doesn't go to jail, he was a deep state Democrat operative sent to destroy the crypto industry and make everybody poor.
Yeah.
Um and it's funny because like if if nothing really comes out of this, and I mean all the millions of dollars that went into politicians' pockets, right? Um, from FTX. I mean that's just wild. I mean, since 2020, you can't even tell me like something's wild anymore. I mean, fucking aliens they're talking about now, and we're all just like, yeah, all right. Now that the government says, there's aliens, it's not cool anymore. I don't believe you.
I don't know. And like
But
I think we only spent a week on the mummies that they revealed in Mexico. Then everybody else was talking about something else the next day.
yeah, like this little tiny alien thing, everyone's like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. Like that's not real.
I,
Um, yeah, but it's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, I really hope they make an example out of the guy. Um,
yeah, I
I
always
think
kind
that
of
would be better for
hated
the industry.
Alameda, and they did damage, and they knew better. It's one thing like to like people like there's other places that blew up obviously, but there's one thing like the difference is like there's ones who like over leveraged and blew up, and then there's ones that just did fraud, and that one was extremely fraudulent. And we just keep finding out like the more and more crazy things they had were like Alameda had their own account that couldn't be liquidated, could run negative balances and stuff like that. And it's like, holy cow, it's
Yeah.
insane.
Where's Caroline these days?
She's in New York. She ratted.
She
She
lives in
was
New York. Like, is that her actual residency?
oh
Or
I don't know where she lives, but that's where she's at currently because she's been they keep spotting her out in the public around the courthouses for the New York uh, federal judge or the federal judge area.
speaking of which, no stop loss queen. She's the
It's just
queen of no stop losses. She thinks it's a terrible risk management tool. So
she's got a bunch of
there you
old
go.
writings where she's like asking like what are the downsides of doing a 100x trade because she's like you could throw 1% of your capital at it and take a win or a loss.
Unbelievable. All right, man. Let's jump in here. Let's educate me on what's going on. Obviously, I've been following you guys for a while. We've been Twitter friends for a while. I get the gist of this, but if you can, well, we got some time here, so if you
For
could kind of
sure.
loop
Yeah,
me into
not
what you're seeing, yeah, and let's go from here, and then I'll give you my thoughts.
so the big thing is we're looking at like high time frames is really what um Bitcoin's all about right now to me. It's if there are people that are like short term trading it and they're getting chopped up. Um, a lot of people, it's expert mode. Like if you want to scalp trade this market, like you better be ready for it. Um, but for me, it all comes down to levels, and this level here, the 31,100 pivot is really king, and that's
Yeah,
what's been printing our BARTs. We've been rolling over this huge BART that took 2 months, came back down, and now we're resting up against this order block here, and we're starting to pull back up. but the S&P is not doing so well. So I'm not. This is kind of an indecision range here for me because this is kind of like the top for me. Is that block there? I'm
I
redrawing
agree.
it, and I'm super interested if we can get above this and hold it, and then I think we're off to the races. But I don't think we don't have our apes back. Like they're not here.
Uh,
Every time we have any type of pump, it retraces. So that's what I want to see. And like we took a swing here, swing here with a swing failure pattern, and then we nuked down. And now we've been like, this is the other part I don't like. We've been like low time frame barting since we came back down from the 2 month BART that we just printed. So there's just like an inverted BART here, an inverted or a normal BART here, BART, BART, BART.
the one, yeah, I mean, we were talking about this before people joined, but like it's just literally Bart City, like
Yeah,
Bart and March, like, and it's just like not, it's just not a very healthy market. That said, what I would say for the Bulls in this scenario is, I mean, so the low didn't get taken out there, right?
no, no, it's
So the
hanging.
it's hanging, right? So like that was like a fair that ended up being like a fair pivot point. Um Scary as all hell, but yeah, you really could have just played against that low. Um you know. So
This is what scared me though, and I've been covering it. Is like when we were trading here, it's like if we move north, this is the target 28.8. If we move south, it's like 21 or 20K, and it's like the risk to reward
mm,
here is pretty crazy because the altitude at which you can drop here is way worse than this because we're not just going to explode through here. We're crunching through these old order blocks, and like it's got huge resistance because to me this is the part that really scared me was that swing failure pattern here. Everyone
right.
went nuts because we set a higher high and no volume showed up. No one cared, and it just the colors faded, the colors rotated, and then I was like, ugh, and then it knocked back down, and I was like, well, I'm just kind of I'm gonna chill a bit. Um, and we lost some of these trend lines as well because people were watching this, and it completely zapped out of it. A lot of people thought we were going to kiss that and move forward, and it was like I've seen some
Yeah,
whiteouts
yeah,
on
that
that as
big
well.
yeah. It literally didn't even give it a second it just went right through it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um Yeah, I mean, so this is actually and something that I use when I'm day trading Nasdaq is if you notice how this was what the fourth touch of this trend line, keep a lookout for that because typically the second and the third can produce a result, right? Oh, there. So like, and I think I have the gap. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So funny enough, and I have the CME futures gap here, and then I think I'm lagging a little bit.
Twitch does it, so watch your screen because it's about 4 seconds.
Got it. Okay. So this is the CME chart, and I'll just like draw the same thing. Um, and just like look at how perfectly. Look at how. Oh, let me get my pen out here. Epic pen. Um, where is it here? Oh, well, all that time to set up the Epic pen, I guess it's not working. So,
For
all
what
right,
it's
we'll
worth,
just use.
Zoom can handle
Oh,
that
there it
here for a
is.
little bit. There
Okay.
you go.
So the CME futures, like I actually love coming to this chart because look at this here, like one, two, took that long off there. It just perfectly filled that gap and created this trend line, right? So just like basic stuff, like fills the gap, takes off. Well, now we have this huge gap right here, which has me on my toes with indices looking weak.
Ooh.
Uh, you know what I mean? And so this came up, and then we took the long again right here, right? Because we're looking at it, comes into a big pivot point, touches this, right? Multiple factors. I think there was also a couple simple moving averages right here at the time as well. Right, breaks out of this channel, comes up, and now you're thinking, all right, well, the fourth hit of something like this is usually where the breakdown happens. Not all the time. It's just like you kind of want to be on your toes. And I know you and I were, kind of pinging back and forth, like, what are you seeing here? And you were just, you and I were just like, Bart. Like, dude, all I see is fucking Bart fucking Simpson right here, like just ready to make people miserable,
Well, that
or
was
at
the
least
cool
long.
thing is because like once it was like about to print, everyone started posting on Twitter all these BART charts, and I'm like, no, 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 no. There's only two of us who are talking about this in July, and
Yeah.
you guys want to come to the BARTs after the party's played out. And sure enough, it nuked. And I don't even remember I don't even think there
Yeah.
was a news trigger, but it just went hard, and it
Yeah.
the
Um,
RSI was nuts on that nuke.
so yeah, it was nuts. But so look at this. And look, I'm just like I'm a big what's that? I'm a big just simple price action and trend lines and levels. So everything kind of has to line up. But if you see, like, look how perfectly, it came up, like the session ended, right? The New York session ended, and then look what happened. It never pierced the low, right? Came into this huge level, came back up, right? And touched and retraced to the scene of the crime, I like to call it. Came back, retouched the scene of the crime, and then just fell away. If you come back, let's go to the regular BTC USDT chart. A little bit different look, right?
Very.
Like here's your line, right? Here's that trend line that everybody and their mother, like my grandma was calling me up about this. Like, do you see this chart line or what's going on here? And it's just like, I mean, everybody wanted to long this thing, and it's just I didn't see it happening. But anyway, um I think so if we do like a simple measured move here, right? And it's not like a head and shoulders, but I typically like to look at this from a measured move perspective. And it's a big if, but if markets are going to, right, they're going to start like a somewhat of a downtrend again, right? Like somewhat of a downtrend, bear correction, whatever you want to call it. Um, I think a fair short, and this is a weekly high right here, this 29,000 level, or it's like 29,000. I'll get to the exact number in a second, but I want to see like where the week closes, or how tomorrow goes specifically, and usually like we'll get some type of like, I don't know, like tomorrow maybe it's just kind of a flat day to up. Like Fridays are typically kind of okay, but maybe we go up a little bit higher, right? We somewhat test that high, but don't break it. And then it just becomes a deviation, and then we just start back down again, right? And I really want, and I think that's that's a great risk reward. I mean, you're literally playing up into that high for what I think is, let's go to the CME chart. Hold on a second. There it is. What I think is ultimately a fill, right? A fill down to that gap. Now, the problem is like everybody's super bearish right now. And you just want to be careful because I mean the target for this head and shoulders on the SPY. So this is the SPY, which is the S&P 500 proxy, and the target on this is just like beautiful. I mean, this is just like perfect technical analysis, gap fill, at about 406, 407, right? And it's in this bearish pattern right here. Let me clean that up a little bit. It's in this bearish pattern right here, hovering above the 200-day moving average, right? And
Everyone's talking about.
everyone's talking about it. So, and then you have this huge gap up here too. So the question becomes like, all right, like war of gaps, like what are we going to get some type of fake out, right? Where the bear pattern doesn't break down first and actually goes up and maybe fills this gap. And then look at this. So I don't know if I would consider this a fourth touch. Like if this gets up in here and it fills this gap and we get some type of sign or signal of a trend change, I wouldn't love to short this because then we're kind of like out of the October, right? The October 31st, and we're kind of looking for the Santa Claus rally.
Yeah.
And that's what like cycles and history tell you is, we're going to see, we should have the volatility all through October, and then we're going to start to find a bottom on the 28th or the 31st. And, if we recapture that head and shoulders, I just don't know like if we're even going to see more downside. So let me clean this up. And the reason being, and this kind of like, look, I know people just like strictly trade crypto, but I mean, I'm like super focused on it on majors because
You have to be because it's not like S&P
yeah,
can do a 10% move and Bitcoin not care.
yeah, exactly. But what I've seen is look at this bull extension like trend line, right? And you have this important gap fill. Everybody is talking about this head and shoulders. So what I'm saying is if it's not going to happen, right? And ultimately what I've seen before is okay, perfect trend line fakes people out, right? And this deviation will come back up, right? And it's kind of a tall order, but not really. I mean, fill the gap, consolidate, break out, maybe do this, and then we're off again. Like I could totally see that. I'm not gonna play it, but I'm just kind of working out scenarios here. Obviously, the most beautiful scenario is this just stays below the trend line, right? Stays below the trend line, weak, right? And then we get some type of nuke. We satisfy the head and shoulders target, right? That's a gap fill. And then what I'm going to be doing is probably just automatically pulling the trigger on some SPY call options for all-time highs. Or at least like that gap fill right there. Because here's the thing. We satisfy the downside. Let me clean this up again and zoom in a little bit. Let me zoom out actually. So big spot, right? Big spot, head and shoulders target. I don't know how exactly it's going to play out, but if we get down there, fill the gap, right? And then we do some type of rally into 2024. Going to look like? Because this right here, this area, and I'll just zoom in here. This is where it's like really, for me at least, this is where it's over. Right here and especially right here. So what's your risk, right? If it gets in here, all right, and it screws about and then we're rallying, well, sweet. You just caught a correction, which, by the way, do you know how many people are going to be crying and screaming with their heads off or heads falling off when in reality, that's a normal 10 to 15% correction on the S&P 500, right? That's deep, right? But that's normal. Like
it's not
that is
a
a
swan by any means, and that's the thing that bothers me is people keep talking like we're going through black swans right now, and we're like, no, 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 these are weak colors. It's bleeding for sure, but like y'all have gotten used to like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years of just straight bull market, and this is
right,
what a normal market's kind of healing, right? Because I have no issue with
correct.
that. What I fear though is if it starts closing below 4,000, those same emotional people are going to start screaming for like 3,200 targets, and it's like,
I
ugh.
agree. I agree, and look, the macro's funky, right? Obviously, like I'm a doomer when it comes to the macro, but it doesn't mean that we're not still like for me when this really became over, like clear as day. Look at how beautiful. Like it just came out of this bear market,
It's a
bounced off the trend
retest.
line, and just went on its way. And for me, the Bears had to take it down. Right? Oh God, that was huge. The Bears should have taken it down right here. Right, that's where they should have taken it down because you still could have had a lower high scenario, but they didn't. Right, and that's where everyone got trapped. All the shorts got trapped right there, and went on a massive bull leg. So what I'm thinking here, right, is you know, maybe we get, some type of situation again. Hopefully, right, we get to that target because I would love to play it alongside and call options. Like, let's say just for numbers' sake, like you want to risk $1,000 to make 4,000, right? That is very possible with this scenario. Like, okay, like it's super over because if we start closing daily below here, I mean, good night, Irene. Like we'll see you at 3,000, right? And then
Yeah,
that becomes the situation. Yeah, I mean that becomes the situation where okay, the Bears were right, or at least like the macro bears. Like I'm a macro bear at this point just because the yield curve is telling me to be until proven otherwise. But that would like be okay, like a normal recession, like 40%, 50%, whatever it's going to be, that would make sense. Like it would come down in the total. Like we start closing below that number, like yes, that's what it would. That's exactly like kind of like what it would look like.
and nobody would
Um,
have powder left by the time you bottom. That's what's gonna like we're
yeah,
that's gonna like I'm getting the feeling again that like we're on the verge of killing a whole bunch of banks, um, with these bonds going nuts, and some of the individual bank stocks are starting to like fall. So which we saw before some of the other ones completely got wiped off the map. But I don't
really
know.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really bad. The system can't last. I mean, the system is. I mean, the Fed can do a lot of funky stuff, but and the government can too. But the system has been propped up on cheap money since the 80s. And we haven't seen rates rise this quickly, this fast after such a period of
Short
I
period of
just
time,
don't
and
think
then
it's
the
going to end well.
inflation. Yeah, no, and I everybody wants to go straight back into a bull market, and we just go for like 6,000, right? But to me, the environment still feels off. Like like stuff's not going right. Uh, and not to say like this isn't what we should be doing, but it's like I think a lot of that pump of that leg though that you marked up too. I think a lot of that was just, in my opinion, like the AI run. Like the S&P 500 was just the green stuff getting drug up were tech stocks, and now people
Yeah.
are kind of numb to like what Chat GPT can do. They've kind of nerfed a lot of the stuff too. Not, but I think a lot of the hype of that run, like I mean, the amount of wealth Nvidia printed was just absurd, and rightfully so. Like they came up with some crazy stuff. You know, they spearheaded all the stuff for uh, Ethereum. They were the main chip producer for all the Ethereum mining, and then we go to proof of stake, and then all of a sudden, Nvidia is the king of AI. So, but that like a lot of the tech stocks are starting to pull back too, and they're starting to do layoffs and stuff too. So I'm wondering if it's crazy overbought, and eventually that's going to cause that downturn into that 4,000 range block, and then from there, I don't know. We got to see what happens.
Well, I don't know, right? I mean, here's the thing: the yield curve's flattening out, so now is the time you want to pay attention. Um, I'll show you one thing though. So we'll get back to that in a second. But let's go to the monthly. When the yield curve, by the way, like, like, come on. People are so not used to real bear markets. I mean, um, for me, like, do you see like the difference though in the structure? Like, I just don't. Like,
We're not
just not at
reset.
that point. Like, I just don't think. I still think we have another leg here, and especially running into the election, and then like we'll get some volatility. I just feel like 2025 is where like that's like where shit's gonna get like fucking weird. I don't know. That's too far out. I can't. That's obviously just prediction, but I'll tell you what. When the yield curve was this inverted back before the 2008 crash. Let's see here. I believe I just wrote a weekly on this, a newsletter on this, but I believe let's see, where's my ticker here? Or my there we go. Right here. Yeah. I believe that it was either right here or right here the inversion stopped. Right? Which means it flattened. And the market went on to produce 10, 13% gains when the yield curve stopped and everyone, oh yeah, like the yield curve's over, like we're going on a bull run again. When in reality, like when yields flip back after an inverted yield curve, like boom, that's what happens, you know? So it's going to be an interesting time. I mean, I just think like we're in for a funky cycle because really the election year is typically bullish. And I mean, I'm not, you call me a conspiracy theorist, but I just don't know if, depending who's like truly in charge, if they'll even figure out a way to like to not let markets down. Lastly, on this, like it's just simply a measured move, but that's like around there, like breaking all-time highs is where I'm going to be taking profits on the long. If SPY gets let's see here. Right, like completes the head and shoulders, right? Comes down, fills the gap, maybe even like comes a little lower but doesn't like close daily below. And then we just kind of start a new uptrend into the next year. That's where I'm going to be looking to exit is 5,000. It's just a measured move. And it breaks all-time highs slightly. You'll probably get like a break of all-time highs, right? And then I'll snap back down, come back down to here maybe. And then that's where like that would really blow off. Right? And then you're back into seasonality again. Here we are in September. Seasonality, maybe that's where shit really starts to fucking roll over. Right? And oh my God, Trump's getting elected again, and now it's all his fault.
Yeah, some people were asking me about it, and they were talking like, "What do I think about the lawsuits that like he's getting sued every day over?" And I'm like, it's definitely using um, the judicial system as a tool, but at the same time, it's legal for him to run for president and be elected president while he's behind
Isn't that weird?
bars.
Yeah.
So it's like, but he can't legally pardon himself. So I was like, welcome to the show. Like Europeans, like you may see America elect Trump and him run the country from a prison, and then you want me to predict what the S&P is going to do from that. And I was like, I can't. Like I don't know. Um, so like I suspect they're going to swoop in and replace Biden with somebody else. I think maybe I don't know. I think they'll bring in someone else to do it. I don't think they're going to run on Kamala because her numbers are very, very not favorable to take on Trump. But I don't know. And
I don't
the
know who the hell's going to do it though, right? I mean, it's not going to be Kennedy,
it could be, yeah. He's
right?
talking about going independent. I honestly think it would probably be what's Barack's wife's name? She
Oh
could
my
run.
gosh.
She could run with the Obama name and come in and swoop it. She could. And I think that she would have the numbers. She's still highly popular because they have no one else like as a number two, and neither do the Republicans because DeSantis is like the next best, and he's like 17% polling right now. Like he's
Yeah.
not really set up to take out Biden either. But and then he's aging out, so I don't know. But this is let me switch
Yeah,
back to
it's
my.
going to be it's going to be a fucked up year, man. The
Yeah,
next
yeah.
couple years, I mean, it's going to be pretty wild.
So
What
these
are
are
you
those.
seeing with rainbow trends?
Yeah, so this is my S&P chart for this. And right now the runner bot, it called this top when we started doing inverted head and shoulders, and I really started reeling back try to get long, but I'm looking for the target of where we're going to bounce cuz I think this is the real candidate here is this order block to do that chop that you were talking about. That's like 41 to
Yep.
420. And that
Yep.
keeps us above 4,000. Because if we start printing 39s, people are going to just cry. And that is scary because you're talking about revisiting the 3600s, which I don't want to do because that's a
Yeah,
longer recovery.
I I agree. I think there's a couple different ways to look at this, right? Like we could have just bottomed right here. And because here's the thing, so many people are already so bearish. Like if you wear your contrarian hat, it means it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
On the flip side, um like where do you get the bears even more cocky, and which would produce a massive short squeeze
I
is
mean,
I think that is that lower area in my honest opinion. It's a spike of 400 or 4,000, but we only have so much time. Like I really think that this is a cyclical thing and a seasonality thing, and that I think that we should be having a bottom here before the 31st. I mean, anything could happen, but coming into an election year, seasonality, yield curve is coming to an end. The inverted yield curve, which is short-term bullish, typically. Usually, you get a little bit of a rally. How big that happens, I don't know, but so I don't know. I'm if you're an investor, I mean, or like, let's just say like a long-term trader, like I have positions where I'm just comfortable going, okay, I'm gonna hold this thing for 3 years, like whatever. At some
mhm.
point, right? Kind of like I started um, averaging into TLT, like risky play to some, but I just don't. I just kind of think like, and I have like a 90 average right now.
You're doing better than a lot of other people because there are people that are getting
Oh
eaten
yeah, they're
alive on
getting
that
absolutely
chart,
fucked.
and they're just
Yeah.
doubling down every over and over and over.
But here's the thing. Like I just don't. For me, this is kind of like buying the S&P 500 when it's down 80%. Is it going to work right away? Like, did it work in the Great Depression like right away? No. It took like 3 years. But I just don't think. Now, mind you, this is not going to go up forever. But the TLT, like, I don't know where this stops, honestly. I'm going to have one more ad probably below 80 if it gets there. But you understand, like, from a risk reward perspective, if things get really bad, and what are the odds that, oh, like we just hiked the highest, the fastest in history, and after a period of the most easy money, not only of just 2020, but of the last 40 years. What do you think the odds are that they're not going to have to cut rates down to zero again? Like after some some major bankruptcies, bank failures, unemployment rate. I don't know. So
See,
my point is like, yeah,
that's what Arthur's talking about. Arthur Hayes, he's talking about the banks were not prepared specifically for like this chart and the inversion of the yields, and he's like they're about to start dying, and it's going to be at a point where the Fed just can't sit there and not save them and bail them out and start printing again. So he's talking about like being forced to pivot on the verge of a
yeah.
market collapse, which I think you're right. But the other thing I like that the way you're talking is in this as well as the other chart is you keep talking about what you don't know. And a lot of traders, I think, don't do that. I think they get a thesis and they hold it into the ground because there's a lot of people that did that with this chart, specifically TLT, and they
Well,
completely wiped out their entire trading accounts. And these are big dudes who viciously
totally.
kept trying to double down this. But you're sitting here, saying, "Hey, we don't know." And like 2024, it's gonna be a wild show. Like there's not a good outcome. Like no one's gonna be happy after the elections next year. No one. Like it's just gonna be nuts. And you're like, what's the Fed gonna do? They're on the verge of breaking so many things. And then
Right.
you get a. We could have a president who's behind bars, or we could have a president who's still fading out, and Kamala takes over, and who knows? Like it's not bullish. Like we don't like the everybody wants to go back to the raging times, but the floor is not set, and it's good to be cognizant that like when you don't know, because you can sit back and like I tell people like being boring is like one of the greatest things a trader has to learn because it's the hardest to sit in cash. Like
Oh yeah, yeah. And I'll put it to you this way. So this one trade, and it's more of like an investment. Like I'm looking at this one. Let's put it this way. Like TLT, I'll probably put up to like 10% of my net worth into, and I'm okay. Like because of all my other investments and how much they're going to outperform, I'm okay losing that entire 10%. Like, and that is literally fucking like that literally means that we like screw your portfolios, you want food and water.
yeah, yeah.
Like
People
if
talking about
long-term
like
treasuries, yeah, if my long-term treasury position at this point goes to zero, everything else is going to be worthless and fine anyway. And that's the way I look at some of these things. Now I have, and I like to say like diversify your time frames, right? Like okay, like we day trade. Like I have a day trading, obviously income room, and that's what we do. Like we're day trading minute charts and 10 minutes. Then this, I'm like okay, like this is a longer term outlook. Like maybe it takes till 2025 or 2026, but like I'm looking for 115 at least. Um, and then you have like let's go to the IWM or silver actually. Okay, so I just picked up some silver. A lot of people are like, all right, this just like really broke down, right? To me, it's still in this channel, and I think that the low is in for now because I think the dollar is topping out. You just created this huge gap right here. You have another gap right here. Filled this. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to take a clip here, another clip here, maybe a third. And I already decided when I get to an $18 average, if it closes below, right, or gets to near 16.20 or 16, I'm okay losing X amount of money. It closes daily, closes weekly. But what I'm looking for is either a pop right now, right? Or for it to come in. I don't even know if it gets that low, to be honest with you. But for it to come in again and resume uptrend into 2024, just like with everything else. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm still in the bullish camp until proven otherwise on a lot of this stuff because
This isn't one that can go to zero. Like it's that's what I think. All things considered,
yeah.
right?
So, yeah, I agree. And also like I was buying physical again down here. Right? So will I do that again here? Probably. And I just hold, I have like 10% of my holdings in physical. And then it's like, if it gets to 20% one day, all right, well, I only want 10% physical. So I'll probably sell up to 10% and make it 10% again. And I do the same thing with crypto. Like I just kind of average out my portfolio to make sure I'm safe everywhere. And I know there's people out there that go all in on shit and that's great, but like for me, I didn't grow up with money and I never want to be without money again. So when you get enough money where you're like finally somewhat financially retired or free or like you just don't it just makes me sick like people just fucking throwing their money into one thing and just losing it all. I just can't even stomach that.
The amount of people that
So,
went
I'm a big diversifier.
completely like balls deep into Pepe blew my mind. I was like, we saw so many things blow up, and like you want to play with like one of the most volatile assets based on memes, and I get it, the memes pump, but like this can rug you so bad if you're exposed of percentages like that, and a lot of them didn't make it, unfortunately. It's like I tell people, like you want to be boring right now, like realistically, we're less than a year up into the halvening, and the Fed planned like it's getting kind of close to a pivot within the next year and a half. Like these are the type of things where you need to worry about like DCAing into stuff that you just don't care about, like holding Bitcoin spot, holding Ethereum spot. Not that this is a financial advice stream, by the way. uh,
It is not. Yeah. It's a
we just look
trading
at
idea stream.
colors and drawing all over the screens. This is bad financial advice, even if you were to consider. But also, this stuff is securities, so we shouldn't be trading it. But in my mind, like this is what it was like long term dudes. Like I was like, just be boring. This is not the easiest thing to trade. You're DCing into some of this stuff spot, putting on a hardware wallet where no one can steal it from you. Like you're not going to regret that in 2 years. But trying to leverage trade Pepe in this type of environment can destroy you. This is the time not
Yeah.
to lose bags. Like you've got capital. It's nice to have it.
Dude, I agree 100%. Like I like for example, I just took the levels as they came for my long-term bags with Bitcoin on the nuke. So I think it was here. And I'll get back to the uranium question in a second. But where was it? When it hit 20,000, I bought. Like just 20,000 flat, I bought. And then I bought again right here at 17,000. Other, what is it, 4 lined up? Right? I mean, there's a huge spot
13.5 was the rally, in between
There's
rally.
a huge spot. I was like, I wasn't sure how bad like things were gonna get, but there's also a spot right
10K.
here at like 10K. I wouldn't be surprised like in a really bad depression if it went down there, but for another day. But yeah, I mean, and look, right? I mean, I'm up significantly on those ads. 50%. I mean, you're not happy with 50%. I don't know what to tell you. And
Yeah.
am I worrying about the day to day? No. So that's why like you gotta just like diversify your time frames.
Oh
Like
yeah.
swing trade, day trade, and then just I'm telling you, like I think just dollar cost averaging at great prices, and that's why my nickname's discount. But like just dollar cost averaging and great prices is just like the smartest way to go. But in any event, yeah, and then we snipe some nice swing trades, like potentially this short on Bitcoin. Maybe it comes up tomorrow and just resume downtrend.
Yeah,
But
it's like the other. So I get real nervous when like Barts start to form because you start getting a 6 cents for them. The other thing is, I think, is maybe this is the beginning of a creek, which will take us slowly down to 20K, and then do a range low sweep where we may spring, and then all the Wyckoff guys will start posting Wyckoff charts, but most of them won't catch it until we jump the creek. But that's what we did back on the collapse after the 62 print. It did that in that range, and it had a huge rally, did an all time or did a new range high, which we just did, and then it just grinded into the ground, and it just crypto Twitter just has a meltdown because crypto Twitter does not diversify timeframes. It's
yeah,
the market
yeah,
pulled back 2% today. Suicide hotlines are being posted. Like it's, and I
yeah.
tell
It's,
people like
it's ridiculous.
there's no
And you
colors. There's no colors. Like people like, what? Why are the setting? Why are the candles only showing red and green? And I'm like, it's because the market's not moving. Like there were days where we got the full rainbow spectrum and stuff was moving literally. Like Bitcoin had 25% moves in a day, and
yeah.
exchanges were blowing up. Like people forget how volatile this thing can be, and maybe that changes with Alameda behind bars. Maybe I don't know, but I mean, they even had that article come out where they screwed up a trade manually by like 1 or 2 digits, and they completely nuked flash crash price. So I don't know, but I still suspect like huge blowouts are still gonna come. They're just gonna be maybe fewer and far between. But that's where like you get to really like buy spot and just DCA in. I didn't know that was the origin of your name.
Yeah. And I kind of people say I look like a discount Ryan Gosling. So it's funny, like it's it all kind of it's like
It's
a
uncanny. It's very close.
it's like a financial Gosling. That it's I don't know.
I love
It
his
is what it
movies,
is.
by the way. So it's cool to see him go from Blade Runner to Barbie.
Yeah, yeah. But not my best work. Not my best work. Um. So Shrimpy Pibbles. I'm actually in CCJ from here, and this is a play for uranium. And this is what kind of I have drawn out as my long-term view on uranium. Look, uranium's either going to work or it's not, and I think CCJ is probably the best place to do that. Um, got a lot of support down here now. I
That's
mean, my
someone
long-term view is
that's someone running out of
uh,
room to liquidity to buy when you see that type of chop at an angle.
yeah,
I think Europe's going to have to eventually bite the bullet and start splitting atoms, like for their energy. Like Germany's been destroyed over this.
yeah. I have a position in this. It's not enormous, but I'll tell you what. Like, if this thing works, you know, you're looking definitely breaking all-time highs. I mean, technically, this is a new bull market for uranium. It's been that way for a while.
Yeah.
Where is it really wrong technically? Like where's the bull market kind of over? Well, let me make this smaller. So if you see what happened over here, right? You had that, and then it struggled and it made a lower high, or a lower high, and then you had that complacency shoulder and it broke down. Well, if this time, if uranium is over, let's clean this up. You're probably going to see something similar, right? Or something maybe like this, where that was just kind of like a deviation. And maybe you get a rally off of it. And then you're starting to close below this level and trend line. And then honestly, like right here and here is really where like things get really nasty.
I think the demands.
Right. And there's a gap.
I mean, like this is That's the thing.
You
Like
see how
nuclear
far out that
reactors,
is too? Like we're talking like 2027. I mean,
we are, but at the
it's
same
tough to say.
time, like the demand's going to roll in because the nuclear reactors take like 2 years to build minimum, right? I mean, it's a lot of oil field stuff like that moves and has these big runs in oil just because of the time delays. Like you find a piece of land that's got oil in it offshore, it's going to take you 4 years to get a drop out of it, right? You're going to see that in uranium as well because like they're getting destroyed with the Russian oil situation over in Europe, and like coal's not really where it's at long term. Like you've like I know a lot of the other European countries like pushed on France to like shut down their nuclear reactors, and they're like, "F you, this is like the cleanest stuff we've got." And
Yeah.
you get the squeeze on it, it'll go nuts again. Just it's going to be slow. But you're right, it's going into like it's building up and going into a bull market when like other stuff's not. Like it's like same thing with those orange juice charts. Orange juice futures have been going straight up for 24 months. It's insane.
Yeah.
Forget Bitcoin.
So yeah, I mean,
what do you think of natural gas?
I've been long natural gas for a while now, man. Let me pull that up. I should already have drawings on it. Be really surprised if I didn't. Yeah, there we go. So now we're like exploding, right? We're buying it down here, and the thing to be mindful of, and I mean, after this much of a basing pattern, I'd be surprised if it just nuked back down, but it did create a huge gap. Always mind the gap, in my opinion.
It is, but I'm less worried about that on this type of commodity.
Me too. Yeah, Tesla, I think that gets filled a long time. I think that gets filled a while from now. But up here in a measured move, right? You have, let's see here. This is going to be my first profit target.
285.
So when the futures chart hits here, and then UNG is what like most people do. So you gotta see that, right? UNG is probably going to get to like 9, 10. But dude, I think nat gas. I'm holding this to 14, like at least a quarter of it. Like I'll take profit along the way, so I can't lose on the trade. And even if it does like something funky, right, where like it'll come up, you take profit, and then it does one of this. You know what I mean? Like I still think ultimately we get back up to 14 on the UNG.
So do you typically do the take profits in quarter chunks, like 25% chunks?
Oh, it just depends. Sometimes I do half and then let 2 ride. Sometimes I do a quarter. For this one, I don't know. I want to really like sometimes commodities, man. Like they just take no prisoners. and this
Yeah.
thing's just gonna rip, right? I just have to kind of see where I'm where I'm feeling, but yeah. Anything else? Any like chart requests or anything anybody wants to look at?
You've covered a lot of the one. Well, I guess. Do you chart any of the bonds? You talked about it earlier. Do you chart the bond yields or the DXY at all?
Yeah, I have DXY up here. I actually wanted to show that.
Because that one I've got a wall and a pivot that's like she may be topped, but like I think she's
Look
gonna
at
hit
this.
like 109 maybe, and then it's got to revert back, or we're talking about like spearheading into an intervention area. Yeah,
So literally, I've had this up forever, and it literally hit the measured move to a target, and now it's kind of rolling over. I could see it though getting up here.
there's only one pivot I've got before the all-time high, and that it's at 109, and that's the only thing. I was like, man, maybe that's all hell breaks loose again. But I think if we hit 109, that's your bottom leg on the S&P. Like
Correct.
if
Yeah. So if we get like, let's just say this. Let's say that the S&P bottomed. Like that's going to be where it is right there, right? And then maybe we get another rally, but it's dollar's going to roll over, and that's pretty much it. And that's going to be start of a new downtrend, meaning new all time highs, etc. And we'll be long the S&P for that. But let's say, right, we just this sweet channel, and we just keep going. I expect that is where we kind of top out, that 109 level.
yeah,
I'll be your blow off. And then yeah, I mean it kind of like coincides perfectly with like end of end of October, and then you get November to 2024, right? And then that's where you are.
get the
So
reset. Yeah. Did you
yeah,
guys
man.
watch the Oliver Stone nuclear documentary? No, I didn't, but I need to watch it.
Oliver Stone nuclear documentary.
Order submitted.
Yeah.
Order canceled.
This was the DXY chart I had that I've been watching for a long time. I watched it on
What's
the
that?
3-day. This is DXY, and this was the curve, kind
Oh,
of the
you gotta
channel.
share your screen. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So this was the channel we were looking at, and then this is the intervention level that they had way back in like the 80s or something. So like it got like the 118, and basically the Fed will like stop everything. And then we pulled out of that channel, and there was this big order block here that we just came in and chugged through, and then now she's walking up and out of it. I think I forgot which time frame it is. Has the 109. There it is. There's the 109 pivot. That one is the one I'm worried about. I'm not worried about, but like that's where I think you would call the future, tag 109, roll over, and that's like your S&P bottom. I can't draw an arrow, but you can. I need to get that tool. I'm interested now.
Yeah, I told you, man. You can't draw arrows with that thing. It sucks.
But we're also getting to see like the oil is starting to pull back as well. It looks awful on these time frames. Go 4 hour.
Order submitted.
She's starting to go back and pull back down into previous resistances, because this was the range like we just kept chewing through this. Bam, 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 73 to like 83. And now we're coming back to it. But we've also got like I was seeing reports today. They were seeing like overall gasoline like consumption is like hitting lows. So it's the market is maybe starting to retract, because in 2009 we saw that like diesel bottomed within like 48 hours of the S&P bottom. So maybe that's the other play is if oil just starts tanking, we can get a V bottom in the S&P around that area, like the 4,000 or something like that. Then I would get like really interested in re-entering like my retirement funds and stuff. Which
yeah. So I'm eyeing up oil like 60, 50, probably like 50. If oil gets to 50, I'm loading the boat.
Because this is, I like how you put it. This is low sulfur diesel, so this is what most of the like tankers and stuff run off of. We do S&P. See price scale. So this is S&P 500 in diesel. It doesn't scale properly, but this is the 2000. No, that's the 2020. Where is it? Well, anyway, there's the 2020 COVID crash. You can see like within a few days, diesel and S&P bottomed out, but also in 2000. Zoom out 2009. Yeah, that's the 2009 fractal, where S&P started coming down. Oil started going way up, or diesel started going way up in price. So they decorrelated, they inverse correlation, and then they correlated, and they bottomed like damn near same time. Because right now S&P is pulling down. We have the inverse relationship right now, and I mean we're talking fractals, but there's definitely something to be said about S&P pulling back and starting to move down, and diesel's like topping. So if this thing starts pulling down and bottoming while S&P does, if we get anything that looks like a V bottom on the two of them at the same time, like I'm gonna really want to get long there.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched that one.
I agree.
It's a really weird ticker, but the low sulfur one in particular, like this is what all the 18-wheelers run off of, the transport ships, etc. So I think it's more tied to the market in terms to like the market's healthiness. As far, when the market's healthy, like 18-wheelers are running around everywhere, right? And we're consuming this stuff. But when the market's dying, the trucks quit running. So
yeah.
Anyway,
I agree, man.
Chart, but if you don't get to reference it every day, it's not a day trade chart. But
no, definitely not. But yeah, I love the oil play long term. It's just you gotta wait for it, right?
yeah.
I agree.
The other thing is, like, you talk about like the flash crashes. The only other warning, and like this is like you were talking about, like, oh, if the price of these prices hit like 2,000 on the S&P, like we're gonna be worried about bread and butter or bread and water more than stocks. Is I think if for whatever reason war escalates to the point to where a nuclear bomb gets detonated, I think you'll get that reaction across everything.
Yeah.
I think you'll get a black swan of all black swans the instant that happens. As bad as war is, I'm just saying, is like that is one I think you could hit well below 3,000. Because God knows how many missiles will trigger as soon as one blows up. Because everyone's got missiles pointed at each other in case one of them goes off. But
order submitted.
Yeah, I mean, I
Canceled.
don't know, like what. It's kind of just like above my understanding. I just don't know like who that benefits. Yeah, it's like it's kind of like the end. Like nuclear war goes off. At this point, I don't think like anything else really matters.
Yeah, like your bond yields don't really matter anymore.
Right.
Order filled.
So
it's bleak, but like people talk about like that's the one caveat where I could say you could get a 2,500 entry on the S&P. Like that's the only scenario I could see happening. But anyway.
But I don't know, man. I mean, China is like probably like the worst bubble of all time, right? Of real estate. I don't, and then you have like, Europe, right? I mean, I just feel like things can get bad. I don't know like what the catalyst is going to be, but
I don't know either, but
I
I
don't
feel
know.
I
I
feel
don't know.
vulnerable to it. Like the market
Yeah.
doesn't seem resilient to just shake its head and keep going up to me.
Yeah.
Because like we had some man, it was like a year ago. We had some German Rainbow Trend guys in the Discord talking about like he's like we're just packing everything up. I was like, what are you guys talking? What are you talking about? He's like, we can't afford to turn on the electricity in our businesses. He's like, we're just packing everything up and leaving Germany. And I was like, gosh, dog, that's bleak. But he's like, their kilowatt per hours were just insane, and they couldn't. Like, it's like we can't afford to turn the lights on in the business. Like it kills everything. I was like, good lord, I can't even fathom that type of conversation with a family. But he said, I think that's where I think nuclear eventually takes over, as it should, right? Like it's statistically like the best. I know it's got bad history, but at the same time, you're talking about nuclear reactors that were designed in the 60s. If you think of like, would you put your kid in a car made from the 70s and give it as a daily driver? Like, no, you wouldn't. Like, there's no airbags, there's nothing, right? So,
yeah, I mean, Europe is interesting. I don't know if the markets can really go down. Like you see all these doomer. Well, let's play this out. Let's have some fun. All right. So
they're getting sour because they keep getting destroyed, and they double down. But yeah, there's your S&P monthly.
So here's where I see this happening. Just from a pure TA standpoint.
Let's go sub 2000.
Just from a pure TA standpoint.
There wouldn't be a bank standing.
Right? That would be... Hold on.
67% move.
I don't even know if that works, but let's just like... Look at that, by the way. Like, we like came right into... Like, this was like... Isn't that so cool? Like, this was like kind of like the blow off. And that's where like I could see like making the case for, you know, that was kind of it, right?
Yeah. A failed retest.
And then this is going to be like where this would happen. And look at that. Where this would happen would be like, actually, like that's all the way in here. I would probably expect more 2025. So where this would happen would be, like, let's say like this is it. I think like it's not. Like I really do think we could probably get like another spike out of this here. But anyway, let's just say this is it. And you're into 2025 and Trump gets elected or whatever and they blame him. And then, you know, China's leverage and real estate leverage in this country, and you have European banks failing, like major banks failing, and you have commercial bankruptcies, unemployment rates going crazy. That's just going to cause like a deleveraging event. Now, where that ends, maybe it's here, maybe it's here. I don't know, but the leverage in the system, like you're talking about quadrillions, dude. Like quadrillions of leverage in the system now.
Completely.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we retest this breakout area, or at least that. What is that? That is, yeah, 212, right? So if this is it, right, and we're not going to get the secondary, and I'm like way too zoomed out, it would probably look like that. But anyway, what would this look like, right? So what happened here? This was 60%.
Yeah, especially if you got the extra leg.
60%. And with the leverage in the system today, what, you don't believe we can get another? I mean, this can all happen. Like, this all happened in literally like a month.
Yeah.
You know, like 2 months. This crashed. Remember COVID? It was like 1 month. You know, it takes the Fed a while, like, to be like, oh shit. So I think the leverage in the system, that could certainly happen. But you know, what is this? What happens after that? Massive money printing, like to the extent that we've never probably seen before. So, you know what I mean? And that, what is that going to do? Right? Like, gold probably at that point, let's say that it is over. Let's go to the 3-day, like the 3-day. Okay. Let's say it is over. What happened to gold in 2008? 35% is normal before a new money printing cycle. Let's say it's just over for now, right? Well, wow, look at that. What do you know? Breakout area, gap. Like, seriously, and it's that simple. And it's just like, okay, if it gets down here and the world's ending and I'm sitting in dollar cash mainly, like 50-60% of my worth is just collecting 5.5% APY right now. I'm just gonna pile in, you know, make sure it's 10% here in gold and silver. If it's over, I still think we have some legs. Like, I really do. Like, I think maybe we could just get a correction again. You know, maybe make a nominal all-time high. I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna look, but I do know the risk is bigger than ever right now, and I just wouldn't. I wouldn't take anything lightly. I mean, why would you? Why would, in my opinion, why would you do anything so stupid as to going in balls deep into a position right now when you're getting paid 5.25% on cash? You know, I mean, let's put it this way: if you had $100 million, right? If you had $100 million, would you fucking be putting that into Bitcoin right now? No. If I had if you had $100 million, you'd be doing cash. You'd be making $5 million a year off, you know, like, you know, or at least, come on. I mean, at least like 40% of $100 million. You'd be $40 million times 5.25. You're making $2 million a year to do nothing. You know, I mean,
what's your best place to park cash?
So,
or what do you recommend to try to get exposure to that? Just sitting and getting an APR.
yeah, you go. I mean, there's money market funds on Schwab and Fidelity, and I don't think we're at the point yet where you really have to worry about SIPC and FDIC. Probably after this cycle, where inflation is just gonna go through the roof after the next printing cycle. But for right now, I think banks are fine. But again, I mean, if FDIC and SIPC insurance fails, like, we have way bigger problems.
Yeah, true.
Way bigger problems.
So I was looking at Interactive Brokers recently because I was using them for some algos that I was playing with, trying to get stocks working through TradingView, and I was reading through their stuff, and it's like flat out, if you have the cash settled in your account, it automatically gets like 4.8%. So if you have your cash parked just waiting to deploy, they'll pay you. You don't have to do anything. I was like, that's pretty cool. I know it's not going to last, but it's still kind of cool.
Yeah.
Nexus asked, can you take a look at M2 money supply and global net liquidity compared to risk on assets and indices? I think a lot of this goes to is, I think, like you said, the big boys. I think there are big boys that are trapped, and I think there are big boys that are unwinding risk, is what I think a lot of the market is right now. And I think there's a lot of people on the verge of not making it. Like, it's like the last, how many, there was one rate hike that just killed like 5 banks like the next day. Like, it was like, man, you guys were literally 25 basis points or 50 basis points away from like not making it is insane. And just boom, 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 boom.
I think something's going to happen soon. I don't know what it is, but I just don't know. I don't know what this, I don't know. I don't have the right chart, but in any event, what was I looking at earlier? I think it was something really cool. Oh yeah. Isn't that the coolest thing? So
target hit.
If you take the run up from the NASDAQ in the blow off of the .com bubble, and then you had the retest, right? And then you had the retest after it broke down. What did this end up being?
Target acquired.
It was literally the top. Isn't that cool?
That is.
So, I just if let me just extend this a little bit. So let's say it's not over yet. A little bit of a correction, and then this is kind of where I'm going to be looking to like macro short this thing, and not only up. And I'm talking probably from like probably like from a swing trading perspective, or not swing trading, like longer term short. I'll probably like start it here and then let's go max extension. And then I'll just like I'll just maybe even wait to double up, but I'll probably average into this. Right? And it probably gets something like that. If that was the blow off, but I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna look. I'm just giving you guys ideas. But yeah, man, it's gonna be really weird. Like,
yeah,
it's gonna be a really weird couple years.
It is. So. And the other thing I think people just still like think is like, oh, they're pivoting. They're eventually going to get to a 0 basis point, which they have, but they're still threatening one more hike. But it's like the pivot's not bullish traditionally. We typically bottom after the pivots, like 9 months later. So hopefully, man, I'm hoping 2024 is we get our macro bottom, we get to go long and just chill out and not stress out every day. Do more posts.
What just makes me confused about it is like, are they gonna really? I just like, if the, you know, I'm sorry to bring like politics into this, but like, if like the New World Order and Democrats are like really controlling this shit, and you know, same thing with some Republicans, it's just like, are they really gonna let the world crash and burn like that, like right before an election? I just like feel like they can't.
I saw a
But
post
is it
about
really
that.
up to them? Like, is it? I don't know. Like, is it up to them? Can they actually control shit? I don't know.
One of my
But part of me
favorite
just
one of my favorite posts was it was talking along those same lines, and they were reviewing all the S&P 500 blowout pullbacks, and he's like, these sons of bitches always find a way to save it. He's like, just when you think all hope's lost, they figure out a way to save the damn thing. And it's like, to your
yeah.
point, you're right. Like, are they going to watch it burn, or are they going to come in late and somehow figure out how to scoop it up off the floor? I don't know, because I don't know how you do it. The inflation's the hard part, right? Like, we're at crazy rates right now, and we've barely got inflation like paused. Like, we'll never get inflation to
Yeah.
go negative, which it needs to do to get back to the old prices. But like, I saw a dude 2 days ago at a gas station. Old timer came in and bought a gallon of milk at a gas station. It was at $8.25. I was like, man, like, stuff's gonna get weird when people are paying like $20 for a gallon of milk. Like, you
Yeah.
like, you're scared to hold the dollar, which is not something I think people are used to. But like, at the same time, what scares me too is like, with all the inflation, gold's not just printing all-time highs. That's the correlation I was
Because
expecting.
but because we're actually, like, inflation kind of peaked, right? And so, like, here, what is that? Let me get rid of that. Oh, kind of cool. But anyway, yeah. So inflation peaked, and I mean, dude, like, look at this inflation right here. Look at the mean reversion. I mean, you're talking literally mean reversion perfect. Like, look at this fucking chart. I mean, blow off top, right? Channel, and now you have a mean reversion channel. So boom, 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 blow off top, boom, 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 boom. Are we gonna go even lower? Right?
I always
But this was your blow off, and then, now, like, this was deflation. So I understand, like, sticky inflation, like, food and um oil, but that also is lagging right now. Like, oil, I think like, look at that, right? So what was this really? I mean, it's just a higher low. I mean, that's deflation. And then it spiked, and then you have another higher low.
Thank you for the ice cream. Gang, gang, gang.
I called this short out
Slay.
too. I didn't take it personally, but I filled that gap. I create a gap right here, but
the arc chart is amazing. It's just
unbelievable, right?
it's I always joked, like, if you could build a fund where you get these investors who just thrive in a bull market, but you have some older snobby dude who doesn't like exposure risk, like, pulling the money out of their funds. Because, like, imagine if you could harness like Kathy and like Suzu, and like deploy them when the time is right, and then pull them out when also the time is right. Like
Yeah.
they literally sold Nvidia at the bottom. Like, imagine if they had been able to hold the Nvidia position. Like, it's absolutely insane. Yeah, that bottom
Look at
there,
that.
they sold like 110. Yeah, it was right around that. It
Well,
was
so
on. It was like 110,
that's kind of
120.
what I'm getting at, but that's kind of where I'm getting at with the melt
Thank
up
you for the ice
scenario,
cream.
because
Gang, gang, gang.
look at how
Slay.
unbelievable that is.
That's AI,
Right?
dude. Like, it's insane, and it's a chip war who can generate I mean, like the amount of like chips like Tesla's consuming as well. There's a huge
Yeah.
gap, and that's something like I don't know what to do with that chart. I don't want to long it, and I damn sure don't want to short it.
No, yeah, there's nothing to do with it, but I'll tell you this. Yeah, there's nothing to do here. But here's probably when there is something to do. You're kind of, well, it's just, I don't know, man. I honestly, like, I wouldn't touch this thing, but if I was just to make this a range, and let's say, like, we bottomed already, then we're going to go up. You know, you probably play some put options here. I don't know. Then we'll come back down. And then it kind of makes, like, a measured move situation. Potentially, right? I don't know. But, like, there's nothing to do here.
Doppel came in says,
but the point,
go ahead,
yeah,
go ahead.
the point of this is what, look, everybody sold right here, and look what happened. So, what can happen with the Nasdaq is the same thing. It's the same exact thing that can happen. Is you got bears, and by the way, it's like a beautiful bear flag happening right now on the on the QQQ. But like you'll have the same scenario where like, all right, bears are horny, okay, they win, and then let's just like measure this real quick. Yeah, probably like 15-17% on the NAS brings you about there. And then you just like get this situation where it's like boom.
Yeah.
And good night. And you had like fucking people trying to follow Burry and everything, and it's like
He's still in that position, I believe. Just crazy.
yeah. CCJ, I think we just covered CCJ. Yeah. Dude, I'm honestly like, this is kind of what I'm looking for on the QQQ though. And I'm gonna play this. If they both nuke down. Where is that timing? Yeah. It's like somewhere around October. I don't know. I really don't know what it's going. I'm gonna judge it when it gets down here. I'll probably just do call options to just define my risk, and hoping it gets down there sooner than later. But we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if this head and shoulders works out. But maybe they fill the gap real quick and fake people out. Because what I've seen too is where, right, like you get like a little deviation up here. And then it's just, okay, we're back down. And we left everyone at the altar. So.
The breakup with no follow through.
Yeah.
It kills, like in crypto, it baits everyone. I swear they set alert. I swear they set like limit entries above all time highs, and people just slam it. And then bloop. Thank you for the liquidity. CCJ. I don't remember this chart. Cameco Corporation?
Yeah, this is uranium.
Oh.
CCJ. Well, I mean, dude, that's kind of like a BART, right? I mean, not really, but it's a kind of another mean reversion. So now, right, are we going to be in this bear flag pattern? And I'm holding this long, by the way, like for a long-term trade, but
maybe get the retest for like 32.5 or 32. Yeah. That's the level.
You know, maybe add to it. Like, here, let me clean this up. Yeah, I mean, like, I really don't want to see it down there, but oh god.
Yeah, I got the top signal call at 40ish, 41 on the 12 hour.
You short it?
No, no. I have my default tools on, so I'm just sitting here looking at it. The bots really like oil and these type of things. So I'll show you real quick. This is, see the 12-hour print here. But typically, when
Hey, by the way, like, I'm new to Twitch. I'm a fucking boomer.
There you go.
Is this recorded?
Yeah, it'll be recorded later. I can send you a copy.
All right, cool. That's some people asking.
So you can see the bottom prints here, then top.
Any other charts because I kind of want to wrap up soon. If anybody has any charts, I mean, let me know. I would love to dive in, or anybody has any questions and they'd like to get my perspective from or on any charts that you have. Like, I'd love to take a look and dive in. We went through silver, we went through oil.
He's wanting Fletch is wanting Tesla. We haven't talked electric cars. Oh, speaking of cars, your dad's still rocking is it a Q60?
Yeah, man.
Such a
cool I got car. Him for that on Christmas. He loves it, dude. So that's why we do what we do, you know?
That was one of my favorite posts you did.
Thanks.
Besides the walking dog, I like the setup with the walking station for the dog, because one of my friends, like, there's like 3 guys that I associate golden, or like there's 4 guys on Twitter that I associate with golden retrievers, and they're all like badass OGs. I always tell people, like, follow the golden retrievers; those dudes are legit. And he tried to set up the thing like you had, where he built like the walking dog treadmill type thing next to his trade desk, and the dog will only use it for naps. And I just think it's the funniest damn thing. He refuses to do it.
I try to get him outside more now. I mean, he always had. We were down in Florida for a bit, but yeah, it was just tough to get him outside. But anyway, yeah. So Tesla, real quick. What's interesting about Tesla is, like, look at the position this thing is in comparably, and honestly, like, I feel the same way too about Bitcoin. Let's pull up. Okay, we got Bitcoin. Let's go pull up QQQ. So, to me, I mean, look at the Q, right? I mean, that looks like trash, and it looks like it's gonna nuke. Right? So
it's rolling over.
Yeah, but look at Tesla. Look at the position Tesla's in. I mean, I don't to me, let's say, okay, let's do this. Let's say the Qs have bottomed here. All right? And it's really just going to fake everyone out, and now we're off. Doesn't look natural to me, but let's say they do it. Bring Tesla. Well, let's clean that up. Tesla is going for the gap. I mean, that's just like, that's just clear. It's going to this gap window right away.
I'm surprised you don't use the TradingView gaps tool.
Is there a gaps tool?
Yeah, type in gaps on the indicator list. It'll highlight that for you. It'll draw it automatically, and it'll show you when they fill. I just found it, and I started playing with it. They did an update for it. I don't know what they updated, but I started playing with it, and you're naturally drawing the gaps, everything. So go into the like add indicators, and
hold on a second. Oh, let's take it offline. You can show me. But definitely interested in that. So yeah, I mean, but what happens if, let's say, for example, on Tesla, let's say that we're going to make lower highs and this isn't over. Well, maybe we rally Friday. Okay. Now we're going to fill the gap and then some. right? Probably heading, depending on again, where the Nasdaq is. It's probably going to be this zone right here. So that's probably what it's going to look like if we correct. If we don't, and it's just going to stay bullish.
I kind of want a
Going for the
Cybertruck.
gap at least.
Some kind of bullish.
Hey, by the way, anybody who is interested in day trading, we're there. We stream it. You could try it 7 days for $7. Head trader makes $50,000 to $100,000 every month transparently. I mean the P&L it's transparent and shown. So I've been trading for a decade, day trading for 4 years, and the head trader in the room has been day trading for 15 years. And it's an awesome community. We got about 50 people. It's just strictly day trading. We don't really do anything else. We use prop firm money, and anybody can. You just have to pass evaluations, and yeah, you could give it a try. $7 for 7 days. We do 8 a.m. Eastern time to 9 a.m. Eastern time. And then we do the opening bell, 9:30 to probably 10:30 to 11 is when we get the rest of our trades out. And then, there's a chat you got, runner your Discord, but that's pretty much it. So do day trades in the morning. Sometimes there's a power hour trade or something, but I mean, that's it right there. So here, runner, you got the link?
I just put it in the chat, and also if you go to his Twitter page, you can get the discount link. So you got the website, Telegram, live trading room.
That's it, man. So give that a try.
Yeah, that's cool. No, I envy because I get slammed with rig calls all around that beginning middle session, and I've always wanted to watch that stuff. It's cool, and the other cool part about it is a lot of LARPers and stuff that will take people's money, and there's no way for these guys to hide bad trades and bad P&L. So that's it's not
man.
risky, but it takes a very qualified group of people to do that. So props to you guys and your team.
Appreciate that, man. It's not easy for sure.
No, but, especially because you guys are day trading god awful conditions. There's so much stuff for us.
The market's been pretty. Here, I'll just show you right now. I traded some prop firm money just a second ago while we were streaming.
Not that this is trade advice.
Yeah, this is not trade. This is not trade advice.
Not financial.
But what I did was, am I sharing? No, I'm not.
Oh, there you go. Sorry.
But this is what we do in the mornings. And all right, so this is kind of a rising topping type of pattern. And once I saw it broke, right, I started shorting right here, and then I added right here a little bit. And then I took some profit here. I let it run, didn't stop me out. And then I took the ultimate profit right there. And this is the minute chart on the NASDAQ. But it's just stuff like this that we do every single day, and this is how I make a living. So
that's cool.
We're completely transparent about P&L. There's education. We do webinars all the time. You can ask anybody for help. Super supportive, and it's a bunch of fun. I love this shit. So
that's awesome. What how many people are in the group approximately now?
About 50 or 60.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right, man. Well, I got to get out of here, but we should do this more often.
For
And
sure. And thanks you so much, because we've been talking about this for God knows how long, and a lot of the Rainbow dudes have been like bugging me, like, when is discount coming? I'm sorry, dude. And I'm gonna switch screens while you look at that.
well, one second.
Oh no, that's what you did want to show.
I wanted to show this.
Okay, cool.
So just the one trade I'm looking at on Bitcoin is going to be that short. So I'm gonna look. I already have it in my journal, my trade journal here, just getting ready, and I'm gonna be looking at potentially shorting around that 29,000, and it coincides with the weekly high. And ultimate target, I mean, I'm going to be taking profit along the way, but the ultimate target is going to be 27,000 or 20,000 to fill that gap on the daily chart on the futures. That's pretty extreme, but again, like, this is just basically saying we're going in a downtrend on Bitcoin. But I don't know. I mean, it's kind of, it didn't take out that low, so technically, this could just resume. But again, yeah, just my Telegram's free. This is what I'm going to be looking at to yeah, potentially take Bitcoin short. And that's the last thing I wanted to show.
That's awesome.
And this is an automatic journaling tool if you guys want to check it out too. It's pretty slick. So
yeah, I shout out to CoinMarket because they got a really cool thing going, and they've helped us out, and they've done some giveaways to like my group and stuff, and I really like the articles that they're putting out.
Yeah, they're awesome.
With like, they're like integrating it like with the CT, like real OGs, and like you get little bits and pieces that you a lot of times miss. But anyway, well, thanks for coming on. We'll definitely do this again sometime. Hopefully, we get any craziness. That'd be a really good time to get going. But hope maybe that comes soon. That's the thing too. Is like I just want the Band-Aid to be ripped off. Like just give me the bloody days. Let us go long, and then we'll be done with it. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks again. Everybody check him out. All his info is on the Twitter. He's also in the Rainbow Trends Discord too. He'll wake up if you tag him and ask him questions and stuff like that. So anyway,
yeah,
thanks.
Just poke me, I wake up.
Awesome. Well, anyway, thanks again, man, and thanks for